Right from the opening race of the season, Zak Brown has sparked discussions with his take on Red Bull's driver lineup. His comments have added fuel to an already uncertain situation within the Austrian camp, especially after Liam Lawson's debut raised questions about the team's structure. The possibility of Red Bull relying on a single driver again, following Sergio Perez's struggles, has intensified debates. But is Brown's assessment accurate? The friction between Brown and Red Bull's leadership is nothing new. Their differences became public during the controversy surrounding Red Bull's budget cap breach, where Brown was one of the most vocal figures calling for strict penalties. Since then, tensions have only escalated, particularly over the dominance of Max Verstappen and how the team seems hesitant to challenge him even when necessary. This power dynamic has been a point of debate among F1 analysts and fans alike. However, what has caught Brown's attention recently is Red Bull's driver selection process. The decision to bring in Liam Lawson for the final 6 races of 2024, measuring him directly against Yuki Tsunoda, seemed like a well-calculated move. Yet, after losing all 6 qualifying battles to Tsunoda, Lawson's promotion raised eyebrows. Brown himself has questioned why Tsunoda, who had performed consistently, was overlooked in favor of Lawson. When addressing this, McLaren's team principal didn't hold back, stating, "He did an excellent job, probably the one who should have been in Red Bull, based on performance. But they have a history of making unpredictable driver decisions." The decision to sideline Tsunoda has left many wondering whether Red Bull's choices are purely performance-based or if there are underlying factors at play. This suspicion gained traction after Tsunoda himself hinted that the selection process wasn't solely about results on track. Tsunoda, despite staying professional about the situation, has subtly indicated that politics may have played a role in Red Bull's choice. When asked about it, he admitted, "I didn't really ask why Lawson got the seat over me. From what I've heard, it wasn't about performance. People have told me there were other factors involved. Maybe it was a political decision. I don't know." Christian never gave me a clear reason, and honestly, I didn't push for one. I just told them how I felt and that I'm still motivated for next season. This uncertainty surrounding Red Bull's internal decision-making has only added pressure on Lawson. With Brown making strong statements in the media, the scrutiny on the young driver has increased significantly. His performance at the season opener didn't help either. He struggled throughout the weekend and was lapped by the race leaders, while his teammate was battling at the front. It wasn't the kind of debut Red Bull would have hoped for, especially with expectations so high. Comparisons have already started. Many point to Andrea Kimi Antonelli's remarkable drive, where he capitalized on a safety car and climbed from 16th to a 4th-place finish. It's a reminder that opportunities in F1 are rare, and when given a chance, a driver must seize the moment. Red Bull is fully aware of this, and with Tsunoda still in their system, they have a backup plan ready if Lawson fails to meet expectations. Adding to the complexity, Red Bull has already been in discussions with the FIA regarding the super license of Arvid Lindblad for 2026. This signals that they are considering their long-term driver lineup carefully, whether that means promoting Tsunoda or preparing for an entirely new face in the future. For now, Tsunoda hasn't given up on his Red Bull aspirations. He knows that if Lawson underperforms, he might still have a shot at stepping into that seat. But if the team finds itself once again relying solely on Verstappen for results, it could severely impact their position in the Constructors' Championship, especially with Mercedes looking strong from the start and Ferrari bouncing back after a tough race in Melbourne. When asked about his chances of getting the Red Bull seat in the future, Tsunoda remained optimistic yet realistic. "I still want that seat at some point, but the decision isn't mine to make. I got 3 calls before the announcement, one from Helmut, one from Christian, and one from Laurent. They informed me of their final decision. There was no point in arguing. I just said, 'Got it. Good luck.' That's all." I'll keep focusing on my performance, and my mindset won't change. The environment at Red Bull has always been intense, with little room for mistakes. History has shown how quickly the team moves on from drivers who fail to meet expectations. Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly are prime examples. Gasly, in particular, was demoted in 2019 after just 13 races, with his final blow being a race where Verstappen lapped him. And back then, Red Bull wasn't even the dominant force it is today. With their current car being one of the most competitive on the grid, expectations for Lawson are even higher. If Lawson fails to match Verstappen's pace and consistently bring in solid points, Red Bull won't hesitate to make changes. The team's patience with underperforming drivers is notoriously short, and with Tsunoda already waiting in the wings, the pressure on Lawson is immense. Red Bull has also been keeping an eye on talent in their junior program, which means no driver's seat is ever truly secure. Adding to the external pressure, Brown's recent comments have ensured that Lawson's every move will be scrutinized even more. If the young driver struggles again in China, the noise surrounding his position in the team will only grow louder. And when team bosses like Brown publicly question Red Bull's decisions, the tension within the team is bound to rise. Despite the mounting pressure, Lawson has remained composed, acknowledging that his first race of the season didn't go as planned. Reflecting on his struggles in Melbourne, he admitted, "The team and I were on the same page. We decided to take a gamble, but unfortunately it didn't pay off. I apologized for putting the car in the wall, but overall, it was just a tough weekend. We hoped at least part of the track would stay dry, but the conditions were worse than expected. At that point, I just focused on keeping the car on track, but we really struggled with tire issues from the start." This honesty from Lawson shows that he understands the challenges ahead, but Red Bull's expectations will not allow for repeated mistakes. The team has always been ruthless when it comes to performance, and history suggests that patience will run thin if results don't improve. While Verstappen's dominance provides Red Bull with a safety net, having a second driver who consistently delivers points is crucial, especially when rival teams like Mercedes and Ferrari are closing the gap. At the same time, Brown has been vocal about intra-team battles at McLaren as well. While his comments about Red Bull stirred controversy, he also had to address tensions between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. The Australian driver has made it clear that he is not content with playing a supporting role, and this season he is pushing the limits even further. However, during the Melbourne race, Piastri was frustrated by team orders that instructed him not to battle Norris until they cleared lapped traffic. Piastri, who was visibly quicker at that stage, was forced to hold back, and when he finally got the chance to push, he ended up running wide and spinning. This internal dynamic at McLaren has raised questions about how the team will manage both drivers going forward. Brown, however, downplayed the situation, stating, "It was just a temporary hold while we navigated through traffic. Once we were clear, they were free to race. But when Oscar dropped a wheel into the gravel, it was a moment where I thought, all right, maybe let's just keep things steady for now." While McLaren deals with its own internal battles, all eyes remain on Red Bull, where the situation is far more complicated. The team simply cannot afford another season where Verstappen is the sole contender for results. If Lawson does not step up soon, the conversation about his future will only intensify. Red Bull's current predicament isn't just about performance, it's about long-term stability. The team knows that relying too heavily on Verstappen creates a risky imbalance, and having a strong second driver is essential for securing the Constructors' Championship. If Lawson doesn't rise to the occasion soon, Red Bull may have to rethink their decision. And with Tsunoda waiting for his chance, the pressure is mounting. Tsunoda, for his part, has been vocal about his belief that his exclusion from the Red Bull seat wasn't based purely on performance. "I didn't ask why Lawson was chosen over me," he said. "I was told it wasn't a performance-based decision. From what I've heard, there were other factors involved. Political reasons, perhaps. I don't know the exact details and honestly I don't care. I just made it clear to them that I'm still motivated for next season, and that's all that matters to me. These comments have fueled speculation that Red Bull's driver choices aren't always dictated by results alone. The team's history shows that internal politics and long-term strategies often play a role in deciding who gets a seat. With Tsunoda openly hinting at this, it has only added to the controversy surrounding Lawson's promotion. Meanwhile, Red Bull's plans for the future remain uncertain. Reports suggest that the team has already approached the FIA about Arvid Lindblad's super license for 2026, signaling that they are keeping their options open. If true, this could indicate that Red Bull is already planning for the possibility of moving on from either Lawson or Tsunoda, depending on how things unfold this season. For now, Tsunoda's hopes remain alive, especially if Lawson fails to deliver. If Red Bull finds themselves in another one-sided championship fight, where Verstappen is left carrying the team, they may be forced to make a change sooner rather than later. And with Mercedes showing strong early-season form, Red Bull cannot afford to take any unnecessary risks. The upcoming race in China could be a turning point. If Lawson struggles again, the conversation about Red Bull's driver lineup will only get louder. On the other hand, a strong performance could silence the critics and solidify his place in the team. Either way, the stakes couldn't be higher. With the season still in its early stages, Red Bull's driver situation remains one of the biggest talking points in the paddock. The team's dominance in recent years has largely been built around Verstappen, but even the strongest teams need both drivers consistently delivering points. If Lawson fails to meet expectations, the team may have no choice but to consider an alternative, and that's where Tsunoda sees his opportunity. For now, Red Bull is giving Lawson the time to prove himself. But history has shown that patience isn't a luxury many drivers get within the Austrian camp. The likes of Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon learned that firsthand, as both were replaced mid-season when their performances didn't meet the team's demands. And with Tsunoda still in the mix, as well as Red Bull's apparent interest in Lindblad for the future, the pressure on Lawson is only growing. The upcoming races will be crucial, not just for Lawson, but for Red Bull's long-term strategy. If he can rise to the occasion and show the kind of pace and consistency the team needs, he could secure his place for the foreseeable future. But if he falters, the door will be wide open for Tsunoda, or even another emerging talent to step in. At the end of the day, Red Bull cannot afford a repeat of previous seasons, where Verstappen was left carrying the team alone. With teams like Mercedes and Ferrari showing they can capitalize on any weaknesses, Red Bull knows they must have both drivers performing at the highest level. Whether Lawson is the right man for that job, or if Tsunoda will finally get his long-awaited shot, remains to be seen. What do you think? Should Red Bull have given Tsunoda the seat instead of Lawson? And do you believe there were political factors behind their decision? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to know more about Ferrari's controversial strategy mistake in Melbourne, click on the video appearing on your screen now.